Good evening. I'm Pastor David Shaw of My Aim and Hope and Deliverance. We are continuing forth in our book of Genesis, reading from chapter 29 to chapter 31. Then Jacob went into his journey and came into the land of the people of the east. And he looked, and behold, a well in the field, and lo, there were 3 flocks of sheep lying by it. For out of that well they watered the flocks. A great stone was upon the well's mouth, and thither were all the flocks gathered. And they rolled the stone from the well's mouth, and watered the sheep, and put the stone again upon the well's mouth in his place. And Jacob said unto them, My brethren, whence be ye? And they said, Of Haran are we? And he said unto them, Know ye Laban and the son of Nahor? And they said, Now him. And he said upon them, Is he well? And they said, He is well. And behold, Rachel, his daughter, cameth with the sheep. And he said, Lo, it is yet high day, neither is it time that the cattle should be gathered together. Water ye the sheep, and go to feed them. And they said, We cannot, until all the flocks have gathered together, until they roll the stone from the well's mouth. Then we water the sheep. And while he yet spoke with them, Rachel came with her father's sheep, and she kept them. And it came to pass, when Jacob saw Rachel, the daughter of Laban, his mother's brother, and the sheep of Laban, his mother's brother, and Jacob went near, and rolled the stone from the well's mouth, and watered the flock of Laban, his mother's brother. And Jacob kissed Rachel, and lifted up his voice, and wept. And Jacob told Rachel that he was the father's brother, and he was Rachel's son. And she ran and told her father. And it came to pass, when Laban heard the tidings of Jacob his sister's son, and he ran to meet him, and embraced him, and kissed him, and brought him to his house. And he told Laban all these things. And Laban said to him, Surely thou art my bone of my flesh. And he abided with him of the space of a month. And Laban said unto Jacob, Because thou art my brother, shouldst thou therefore serve me for naught? Tell me, and shall thy wages be? And Laban had 2 daughters. The name of the older was Leah, and the name of the younger was Rachel. Leah was tender-eyed, but Rachel was beautiful and well-favored. And Jacob loved Rachel, and said, I will serve 7 years for Rachel, thy younger daughter. And Laban said, It is better that I give her to thee, than that I should give her to another man. Abide with me. And Jacob served 7 years for Rachel, and then seemed unto him but a few days, for the love he had to her. And Jacob said unto Laban, Give me my wife, for my days are fulfilled, that I may go in unto her. And Laban gathered together all the men of the palace, and made a feast. And it came to pass in the evening, that he took Leah his daughter, and brought her to him. And he went in unto her, and Laban gave his daughter Leah Zilpah his maid for handmaid. And it came to pass that in the morning, behold, it was Leah. And he said to Laban, What is this thou hast done unto me? Did not I serve with thee for Rachel? Therefore then thus thou beguiled me. And Laban said, It must not be so done in our country, to give the younger before the firstborn. Fulfill her week, and we will give thee this also for the service which thou shalt serve with me, yet 7 other years. And Jacob did so, and fulfilled her week. And he gave him Rachel his daughter to wife also. And Laban gave to Rachel his daughter Bilhah his handmaid to be her maid. And he went in also unto Rachel, and he loved also Rachel more than Leah. He served with him yet 7 other years. And when the Lord saw that Leah was hated, he opened her womb. But Rachel was barren, and Leah conceived and bore a son, and she called his son Reuben. And she said, Surely the Lord has looked upon me affection. Now, therefore, my husband will love me. And she conceived again and bore a son, and said, Because the Lord hath heard that I was hated, he has therefore given me this son also. And she called his name Simeon. And she conceived again and bore a son, and said, Now this time will my husband be joined unto me, because I have borne him 3 sons. Therefore was his name called Levi. And she conceived again and bore a son. And she said, Now will I praise the Lord. Therefore she called his name Judah, and left bearing. Chapter 30. And when Rachel saw that she bore Jacob no children, Rachel envied her sister, and said unto Jacob, Give me children, or else I die. And Jacob's anger was kindled against Rachel, and he said, Am I in God's stead? Woe hath withheld from thee the fruit of the womb. And she said, Behold, my maid Bilhah, go in unto her, and she shall bear upon my knees, and I may also have children by her. And she gave him Bilhah her handmaid to wife. And Jacob went into her, and Bilhah conceived and bore Jacob a son. And Rachel said, God hath judged me, and hath also heard my voice, and hath given me a son. Therefore called she his name Dan. And Bilhah, Rachel's maid, conceived again, and bore Jacob a second son. And Rachel said, Has great wrestlings have I wrestled with my sister? And I have prevailed. And she called his name Naphtali. When Leah saw that she had left bearing, she took Zilpah, her maid, and gave her Jacob to wife. And Zilpah, Leah's maid, bore Jacob a son. And Leah said, A troop cometh. And she called his name Gad. And Zilpah, Leah's maid, bore Jacob a second son. And Leah said, Happy am I, for the daughters will call me blessed. And she called his name Asher. And Reuben went in the days of wheat harvest, and found mandrakes in the field, and brought them unto the mother Leah. And Rachel said to Leah, Give me, I pray thee, of thy son's mandrakes. And she said unto her, Is it a small matter if thou hast taken my husband? And wouldst thou take also my son's mandrakes also? And Rachel said, Therefore he shall lie with thee tonight for thy son's mandrakes. And Jacob came out of the field in the evening, and Leah went out to meet him, and said, Thou must come in unto me, for surely I have heard thee with my son's mandrakes. And he lay with her that night. And God hearkened unto Leah, and she conceived, and bore Jacob a fifth son. And Leah said, God hath given me my hire, because I have given my maiden to my husband. And she called his name Ishkar. And Leah conceived again, and bore Jacob a sixth son. And Leah said, God hath endued me with a good dowry. Now will my husband dwell with me, because I have borne him 6 sons. And she called his name Zebulun. And afterwards she bore a daughter, and called her name Dinah. And God remembered Rachel, and God hearkened to her, and opened her womb, and she conceived and bore a son, and said, God hath taken away my reproach. And she called his name Joseph, and said, The Lord shall add to my another son. And it came to pass, when Rachel had borne Joseph, that Jacob said unto Laban, Send me away, that I may go unto my own place and to my country. Give me my wives and my children, for whom I have served thee, and let me go. For thou knowest my service which I have done thee. And Laban said unto him, I pray thee, if I have found favor in thine eyes, tarry. For I have learned by experience that the Lord hath blessed me for thy sake. And he said, Appoint me my wages, and I may give it. And he said unto him, Thou knowest now I have served thee, and how thy cattle hast with me, for it was little which thou hast before I came, and it was now increased unto the multitude that the Lord hath blessed thee since my coming. And now, when thou shalt provide for my own house also. And he said, What shall I give thee? And Jacob said, Thou shalt not give me anything. If thou wilt do this thing for me, I will again feed and keep thy flocks. I will pass through all thy flocks today. Remove from tents all the speckled and spotted cattle, and all the brown cattle among the sheep, and shall spotted and speckled among the goats, and all such shall be mine hire. So shall my righteousness also answer for me in time to come, when I shall come for my hire before thy fee. Every one that is not speckled and spotted among the goats, and brown among the sheep, that shall be counted stolen with me. And Laban said, Behold, I would it might be according to thy word. And he removed that day, and he goats that were ring-struck and spotted, and all the she goats that were spotted and spotted, every one that had been some white in it. and all the brown among the sheep, and gave them into the hand of his son. And he set 3 days' journey betwixt himself and Jacob. And Jacob fed the rest of Laban's flocks. And Jacob took him rods of green and poplar, and of the hazel and the chestnut tree, and piled white stalks in them, and made the white appear, which also was in the rods. And he set the rods which he had piled before the flocks in the gusters, in the watering through troughs, when the flocks came to drink, that they should conceive when they came to drink. And the fox conceived before the rods, and brought forth cattle ring-streaked, speckled and spotted. And Jacob did separate the lambs, and set the faces of the flocks toward the ring-streaked, and all the brown in the flock of the Laban. And he put his own flocks by themselves, and he put them not unto Laban's cattle. And it came to pass, whensoever the stranger cattle did conceive, that Jacob laid the rods before the eyes of the cattle in the gestures, and they might conceive among the rods. But when the cattle were feeble, he put them not in. So the feebler were Laban's, and the stronger Jacob's. And the men increased exceedingly, and had much cattle, and maidservants, and manservants, and camels, and asses. Chapter 31. And he heard the words of Laban's son, saying, Jacob hath taken away all that was our father's, and of what that which was our father's has he gotten all of the glory. And Jacob beheld the countenance of Laban, and behold, it was not toward him as before. And the Lord said unto Jacob, Return unto the land of thy fathers, and to thy kindred, and I will be with thee. And Jacob sent and called Rachel and Leah to the field unto his flocks, and said unto them, I see your father's countenance, and it is not toward he that is toward me as before, but the God of my father hath been with me. And ye know that with all my power I will have served and changed my wages 10 times. But God suffered him not to hurt me. If he said thus, the speckled shall be thine wages, then all the cattle bore speckled. And if he said thus, the ring-stacked shall be thy hair, then bear all the cattle ring-stacked. Thus God hath taken away the cattle from your father, and given them to me. And it came to pass at the time that the cattle conceived, that I lifted up my eyes and saw in a dream, and behold, the rams which leaped upon the cattle were ring-stracked, speckled, and glistered. And the angel of God spoke unto me in a dream, saying, Jacob. And I said, Here I am. And he said, Lift up mine eyes, and see, all the rams which leap upon the cattle are ring-stracked, speckled, and glistered. For I have seen all that Laban doeth unto thee. I am the God of Bethel, where thou anointest the pillar, and where thou knowest and vowest a vow unto me. Now also arise, get thee out from this land, and return into the land of thy kindred. And Rachel and Leah answered and said unto him, Is there yet any portion of inheritance for us in our father's house? Are we not counted of him strangers? For he hath sold us, and hath quite devoured also our money, for all the riches which God hath taken from our father, that is ours, and our children's now. Then whatsoever God hath said unto thee, do. Then Jacob rose up, and set his son and his wives upon a camel, and carried away all his cattle and all his goods which he had gotten, the cattle of his getting which he had gotten in Paddan Aram, for to go to Isaac his father in the land of Canaan. And Laban went to shear his sheep. And Rachel had stolen the images that were her father's, and Jacob stole away, unaware of Laban in Syrian, in that he had him not, that he fled. So he fled with all that he had, and he rose up and passed over the river, and rest, and set the face toward the Mount Gilead. And it was told Laban on the third day that Jacob was fled. And he took his brethren with him, and pursued after him 7 days' journey. And they overtook him in the mountain Gilead. And God came to Laban in Syrian in a dream by night, and said unto him, Take heed that thou speak not to Jacob either good or bad. Then Laban overtook Jacob. Now Jacob had pitched his tent in the mountain, and Laban with his brethren pitched in the mount of Gilead. And Gilead said unto Jacob, What hast thou done, that thou hast stolen away unawares to me, and carried away my unawares to me, and had taken to his sword? Wherefore didst thou flee away secretly, and steal away from me, and didst not tell me that I might have sent thee away with mirth, and with songs, and tabret, and with harp? Hast not suffered me to kiss me, and my sons and my daughters? Thou hast now done foolishly in so doing. It is in the power of my hand that I do you hurt. But the God of your fathers spoke unto the yesternight, saying, Take thou hence till thou speak not to Jacob neither good or bad. And now, though thou wouldest needs be gone, because thou sore longest after my father's does, yet therefore hast thou stolen my gods. And Jacob answered and said unto Laban, Because I was afraid, for I said, Peradventure thou wouldest take by force thy daughters from me. With whosoever thou findest thou gods, let him not live. Therefore, our brethren, discern thou what is thine with me, and take it to thee. And Jacob knew not that Rachel had stolen them. And Laban went into Jacob's tent and into Leah's tent, and into the two maidservants' tents, but he found them not. Then went he out of the Leah's tent, and entered into Rachel's tent. Now Rachel had taken the images and put them in the camel's furniture, and sat upon them. And Laban searched all the tent, but found them not, and said unto the tent father, her father, Let it not be displeasing, my lord, that I cannot rise up before thee, for the custom of woman is upon me. And he searched, but found not the images. And Jacob was wroth, and chad with Laban. And Jacob answered and said unto Laban, What is my trespass? What is my sin, that thou hast so hotly pursued after me, whereas thou found of all these household stuff? Set it here before my brethren and thy brethren, that thou may judge betwixt us both. This 20 years have I been with thee, and the ewes and thy rams and thy flock have I not eaten. That which has torn the beats of I brought not unto thou require it, whether stolen by day or stolen by night. Thus I was in the day that brought consumed me, and the frost by night, and my sleep departed from my eyes. Thus have I been 20 years in thy house. I served thee 14 years in thy daughters for thy $2, and 6 years for thy cattle, and thou hast changed my wages 10 times, except the God of my father and the God of Abraham. And the fear of Isaac had been with me. Surely thou hadst sent me away now empty. God hath seen my affliction and the labor of my hands, and rebuked thee yesterday night. And Laban also said unto Jacob, These daughters are my daughters, and these children are my children, and these cattle are my cattle, and all that thou seest is mine, and what I can do this day unto thee, my daughters are unto my children, which thou hast borne. Now therefore thou come, let us make a covenant, I and thou, and let it be for the witness between me and thee. For Jacob took the stone and set it up